Shaboom! Welcome to Destiny Children's TV.
Let's get ready to rumble! Y'all ready for this?
Welcome to Destiny Children's TV. We're really happy that you chose to join us today.
We're going to be having loads of fun together. We are going to be singing. We are going to be checking out Grandma and Dusty, who are visiting a scary house today. We're going to be having Jackie's craft, and she is going to be doing some upcycling. So that's going to be really interesting. But first, we're going to worship Jesus.
Yes, we are. So you're going to need to find some space. We can use our whole bodies today to praise Jesus. You don't need to know all the words, but let's join in with loads of enthusiasm. Let's go.
God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? And what about the stars? Is anything bigger than this big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? Bigger. What about the sky? What about the earth? Bigger. What about the moon? What about the sun? And what about the stars? Is anything bigger than this big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. Is this big love all big enough to handle all my doubts and worries? Is this big love all big enough to help with all my fears? Yes! Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In my questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. You are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore.
boys and girls, have you had a nice summer? We have had a really good time. We went to the beach and built some sand castles and... oh, you already know about that. Oh, and then Grandad built us some furniture in his woodworking shop. Oh, you know about that too. I tell you what, why don't you shout out what you did in the summer holidays? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness! That sounds great. But I bet you're all really excited to get back to school, aren't you? Oh yes, hee.
Hi Grandma, what's going on?
Oh, me and the boys and girls are talking about what we did over the summer holidays.
Oh great, did you tell them about the little trip we took?
No, I didn't tell them about that one.
Well, why not?
I don't really want to talk about it very much.
Oh, Grandma, come on. You've got to tell them, or else I will. Right, boys and girls, Grandma went on the internet and she went on something called Airbnb. And she found a nice house that she wanted to stay in. As you can see, it looked awful.
But it was so cheap.
Well, I'm not surprised, Grandma. The only thing scarier than that house is your feet.
Hey!
So anyway, Grandma, she booked it and we all set off and stayed over there all night.
It was very scary indeed.
And tell them what happened to Grandad.
Oh yes, Grandad got so scared in the middle of the night, he thought he heard a ghost. So he came running into my room. But I told him not to be scared. There's no such thing as ghosts. And to go back in the corridor and keep watch.
Hey Grandma, where do ghosts buy their food?
I don't know.
At the ghostery store. Haha! How do you know when a ghost is sad?
Go on.
He starts boo-hooing. Haha! What position does a ghost play in football?
Go on then, last one.
They play as a goalkeeper. Yay!
Anyway, Dusty, there is definitely no such thing as ghosts. Like with big sheets over their head and things, it just doesn't exist.
Oh, I know, Grandma, but that house was still pretty scary.
Yes, I'm never going back there again. You know, we're looking at somebody who was in a scary place in the Bible.
Oh yes, Daniel. He was in a lion's house. Stuck with lots of hungry lions sounds very scary indeed.
Well, I'm sure it's all going to work out for him. Hey, Dusty, what's that noise?
Oh, I don't know, Grandma.
Ah! Gotcha!
Stories of the Bible. Daniel in the Lion's Den. This is Daniel.
Oh, hey!
Who was a Jewish man who was taken to Babylon when he was very young.
Yeah.
Daniel loved God and followed God's rules. He talked to God 3 times a day and asked God for help often. Daniel served in the Babylonian king's court for many years
Yeah, I know him.
and under many kings.
Hey, Daniel.
Daniel always proved himself to be more capable than all the other court officials.
Right here, thanks. Well, anytime.
Daniel was serving under King Darius, and because of his great abilities, the king made plans to place him in charge of the entire empire.
Wow, okay.
The other court officials searched for some fault in Daniel, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. He was faithful responsible, and completely trustworthy.
Wait!
The court officials realized the only way to get at Daniel would be to challenge his faith.
Come on!
So they went to King Darius
Excuse me, Your Majesty.
and advised him to make a law that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone except King Darius will be thrown into the lion's den.
I like it.
King Darius signed this law, and once a Babylonian king signed a law, it could not be overruled. When Daniel learned of this law, he went home and knelt down, as he always did, to pray in his room with the windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he always had done, giving thanks to God and asking for his help. The officials went to Daniel's house and found him praying.
Gotcha!
They went to the king and reminded him of the law.
I remember.
Well...
Then they said that Daniel had been found praying to God 3 times a day.
What?
When the king heard this, he was very upset,
Get over here.
and he spent the whole day trying to think of a way to save Daniel.
Wait, what?
By that evening, the court officials came back to the king and reminded him that no law signed by the Babylonian king could be overruled. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, "May your God, who you serve faithfully, rescue you." Then the lion's den was sealed shut with Daniel inside. The king spent the night fasting and couldn't sleep. Then very early in the morning, the king hurried to the lion's den. He called out,
Hey, Daniel.
"Was your God able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "Long live the king! My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be taken out of the lion's den. Then the king ordered the men who had schemed against Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den as punishment. Daniel was safe. There was not a scratch on him, for he trusted in God.
I love the story of Daniel and the lion's den. You know, it's one of those stories where everything goes wrong for Daniel. But we see that God saves him. You know, he did all the right things. He did everything that he was supposed to do, and he trusted God, but still bad things happened. You know, that can happen in life sometimes. We can do everything right, and even as Christians, bad things can still happen. But we know that we can trust God, just like Daniel did. And we know that God will protect and save us. There's this great verse in Isaiah 54, verse 17. It's quite long, but it's really, really cool. Are you ready? It says this: "No weapon that is used against you will defeat you. You will show that those who speak against you are wrong. These are the good things that my servants receive. Their victory comes from me, says the Lord." You know what that Bible verse says to me? It says to me that no matter what is going on, we can trust that God is going to bring the victory. That whatever happens, that God is going to turn things around and things are going to be okay. Might not happen straight away, might not happen tomorrow. In fact, it might take a couple of weeks, months, or even years for it to happen. But we know that we can trust God for the outcome. We can trust God that it is going to be okay.
When the king said you can't pray, Daniel did it anyway. So the king said to all of his men, "Throw Daniel in the lion's den." It was dark, but he wasn't afraid. He knew that he would be saved. When the lion She's the craftiest lady in the whole wide world. It's time for Jackie's Craft.
Good morning everyone, I hope you've had a really great week this week. Today I thought I'd show you how to make this owl. Now this is an upcycling project because it's made from recyclable materials. This used to be a tin can and you can use this as a desk organiser to put your pens and scissors and bits and pieces like that in once you're finished. I'll show you how to make it now. So, to make this, the first thing you will need is an old tin. Now, this used to be a tin of tomatoes and it had one of those ring pull lids on it, so the edges aren't sharp. So make sure that your adult just checks that there are no sharp edges on your tin before you start your project. Very important. From there, you will need 2 milk bottle lids or orange juice lids or something similar. They don't have to be any particular size. They don't even have to be the same. I've seen this made with different size ones and different coloured ones. Works fantastically. Then you'll need 2 googly eyes or substitutes, some wool, and I have got some little pieces of some sticky back foam here that I just happen to have left over. But you can use literally anything, so even newspaper, old magazines, any kind of paper you like, bits of old material, anything that you have lying around the house. That's what makes this an upcycling project, because we're essentially just using bits of rubbish. So, first thing you need to do is take your tin, and now I've cut this bit of wool to, it's about 1 metre, metre and a half long. You can use the same colour, you can use all different colours. As you can see on this one, there's all different colours. I do prefer that, but it's just what you've got lying around, really. And using the ridges on your tin's really helpful. Does not matter where you start at all, because this is your owl. So take your first piece of wool, hold it down with your thumb, and wrap it round once, and then just over the end, because that will just hold it down. And then just keep going, just like this. Again, no hard and fast rule. Once you get to the end, like that, you just need to take some PVA glue and glue that end down to the tin. Now, I've used 4 pieces on my owl, but obviously it's your owl, so you can use as many or as few as you like until you're happy with how your tin looks. So as you can see here, I have finished with my wool, and again, I have used different colours, and there's 4 strands on here. Any colours at all. This is a really good way to use up little old pieces of wool. I have then stuck my googly eyes into the centre of my lids already, because obviously they're going to be the owl eyes. And from here, it's really just a basic put it together kind of thing. These here are going to be my owl wings. So what I am going to do is just put some little like feather marks on here. Nothing fancy. You can do any pattern you like, but I'm just doing sort of like little kind of ticks or U shapes. And as you can see, these are in the shape of a capital D. And again, paper's fine, anything you have lying around, absolutely fine. And I just need to quickly do the other one. So, once you have all this done, you just need some glue and we will put it together. So in addition to my 2 D shapes, I have a little triangle that will form the owl's beak. So, first things first, I'm going to stick my eyes on, because they're obviously very, very, very key, and where they're placed will then place everything else, if you can get some glue out. Okay, so now that I have my eyes stuck on, I am just going to put his little beak on, which obviously goes between the 2 eyes, and then the wings. Now, up to you if you add wings. I do quite like them, but it's quite nice just as is. One on this side and one on the other side. There you go, all done. My little owl in a tin that, as I said, you can use as a desk tidy. So I hope you have a really great week this week, everybody, and please don't forget to send your pictures and your videos in of whatever you're doing this week to Pastor Steve, because we really do love to see them. Bye, have a good week.
She's the craftiest lady in the whole wide world. It's time for Jackie's Craft.
Thank you, Jackie, for another awesome craft. Kids, we look forward to seeing you making your owls. Send in your pictures to steve@destinychurch.co.uk.
Remember to head over to our website, destinychurch.co.uk, where you'll find today's activity pack. There's always a memory verse, there's always colouring, and there is usually something else in there as well. So head over to there, get your grown-ups to type their email address into our subscribe box, and that way they'll get emails from Destiny just a couple of times a week.
And remember to give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and click on the bell to get more great notifications about Destiny Wakefield. And remember this week to trust God. Trust God that whatever is happening, that He is fighting for us.
Yeah.
That whatever is going on, we know that God will protect us, that God will look after us, and that whatever happens, He has the victory. We shall see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.
Bye!
Let's meet Daniel, who worked for the Babylonian king. Daniel loved God and he tried to do the right thing. Daniel was a good man and he made the kings glad, but this made the other court officials jealous and mad. Daniel prayed to God 3 times a day, so the officials thought, we'll get him this way. They went to the king, told him to make a decree. It would say no one can pray to any god but me. Officials caught him and threw him in the lion's den. This made the king sad and hoped that God would rescue him, but the law said to seal the den with Daniel trapped in.